Okay, one of the first exercises that we see commonly done wrong is just any kind of single limb activity like a lunge. One of the things that, and there's several things that we look for. One is, what is the position of the knee? Simply identifying where the knee's at in space, and a lot of people will move into this dynamic valgus type of position, which places a tremendous amount of shear stress, not only on the meniscus, but also on the ACL. So simply allowing the knee to stay in a more neutral type of position, not excessive valgus or varus versus valgus. We want it to stay in a more neutral position. The other thing is that what we typically forget about is what is the position of the hips. A lot of times people will do these types of exercises and open up their hips. One, it allows for, it decreases the amount of extension that you go on the contralateral side, but it also, this position right here, actually shortens the glute medius. So keeping it in a more neutral position like that, and the limb like this, helps to really, one, strengthen the correct movement pattern, motor patterns, but also to optimize the strength of the glute medius. One of the other exercises that we work on is called the lumbar hip dissociation. And that is really designed to help people discern the difference between lumbar motion and hip motion. And that is a really difficult concept sometimes for athletes to get, especially for our female athletes. So we actually have an exercise that focuses specifically on that. What I'm going to have you do is go ahead and go up on one leg. And what we want to do is we want to have the contralateral limb opposite of the stance leg in an extension type of position. We also want the hips to be nice and controlled so that she's not rolling into this position. This position right here is what we define as a retrotrendelenburg, and this actually places the glute medius in a shortened position. By shortening it, you're doing a strengthening exercise in a shortened position, so what it ends up being is that the glute medius is not getting as strong as it could be. So we want it in a more neutral position, we want her knee in a flex position, and we want her to control that dynamic valgus. So this position is a great position, but also the ability to go ahead and come on back up, to discern between bending forward in her lumbar spine versus at her hip. On a single leg squat, this is one of the other activities that we know from Myers and Powers' work that is really critical to performance, but also mechanics. And so the last thing that we want to do when we're doing this in the gym is actually be training it wrong, because if we train it wrong, we're not only limiting the amount of strength that we can get from this, but we're also training movement patterns that end up carrying over to the field. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we're doing a single leg squat, go ahead, is that we have our opposite limb back into a neutral to extended position, and that we're controlling this dynamic valgus that we talk about. The dynamic valgus, we don't want her knee moving in towards midline. We also, you'll notice that she dropped her hips down. We want to make sure, bringing this hip up. There you go, like that, just like that, okay? Notice how her hip dropped down. We want her to control that hip while controlling her knee and going into a squatting motion. Now go ahead, squat back up and back down. Now, if she does training like this, she's going to be training those proper movement patterns and at the same time strengthening her glute med as well as her quads and her hamstrings. So one of the things that we've incorporated into our ACL kit is actually the stability trainer. And training on unstable surfaces has always been a challenge for me, especially with some of the devices that are out there. Personally, I have not liked the position that it places your ankle in with some of the different types of devices that are out there. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed about the stability trainer is that when you actually are standing on the device, is that you can actually maintain a more natural position. The other thing about the stability trainer is it doesn't collapse like other models that are out there, where you're actually collapsing all the way down within the stability trainer. So training on unstable surfaces has been an important part of what we want to try to do. Unfortunately, we just have not had the devices to do that in the past, and that is until we came across the stability trainer. And the stability trainer allows us that unstable surface, but at the same time does not biomechanically put our athletes at a disadvantaged position.